She was 2 years old. He was 2 years old. He's really a Frisian and a beautiful horse. So Heidi was disabled 5 years ago when all her abdominal core muscles were amputated due to cancer. That doesn't stop her clearly. She had to learn to walk hand in her right hand. So she's incredibly brave. Speak louder. Oh, really loud. Sorry, I'll do my best. So Heidi's been competing as part of an equestrian project, which has been led by Rikaardt, which we're aiming to incorporate people who need some of that adaptation into as many areas of equestrian sport as we can. Dressage clearly is an option, but show horse is starting to get up as well. I don't know that we'll get into cross country, but anyway. In this year, Rick was awarded Frisian of the Year, so he's one special horse. Not only does he do dressage, but he also loves to look to our trail run, so he's a really good horse. He has this into cross country also. So, anyway, I'll hand over this. Have a nice afternoon.
Okay, so good afternoon. I think we're all in the right place in the shade. We've had some fun with the cross country this morning, walking the course and then doing some of these cross country lines. Now we're focusing on the dressage. I'm always keen to say to everybody in relation to dressage that the origin of the name dressage, the expression dressage, it comes from the French word dresser, which means to train. So any training of the horse is, in effect, dressage. And that training of the horse might be in order to perform some movements in a way which is particularly attractive and expressive and shows the horse off in the best possible way, and therefore is judged by a group of people around the arena called dressage judges, and they award marks for the movements and so on, which is a proof of the training. But in the eventing, of course, we do dressage, and that dressage is related to the jumping phase on the cross country, then in the show jumping, and it's, again, I emphasize training. And so in that, I talk a lot about, in the jumping context, and what we were doing yesterday evening and this morning with the cross country, I talk about position statement, body language, and now I'm talking about how we communicate with the horse. And we communicate, our position says what we're going to do, our body language says let's do it, and then we support that with the seat. And the seat has an influence, of course, through the hips on the turning and the direction. The hips and the seat have an influence on the length of stride. I often say seat is for length of stride, leg is for energy. And in terms of the use of the seat, we've got one use which is purely for lengthening the stride, and another moment the seat may be to support the engaging action of the leg. And so I go through this order: position statement, body language, seat, leg, and then I always say finally the hand. And I use that word finally. Yeah? And the goal in principle with the training is if I eventually get to the point that I can put the reins in one hand and perform all the movements and have the expression and the connection and the accuracy and so on with the reins in one hand, I've in effect then put my hand to bed. And I remember from way back, my early days of competing at FEI level in dressage, and had the good fortune to have a very good horse who by accident became a good dressage horse called Wiley Trout, and he went to the Los Angeles Olympics. And my memory from Los Angeles Olympics is actually not me and my performance although that was great, I was excited by that. It was Rainer Klimke on Alaric, and going around the arena after his prize giving with the reins in one hand, piaffe, passage, canter pirouettes, doing everything with the reins in one hand, and that said to me everything about what dressage should be about. Yeah? So I go back to my point, and finally the hand. Yeah? And in terms of this connection to the horse's mouth through the reins, I always then say horses are obviously living, breathing, thinking animals, but nobody gave them the instruction book and told them that pressure on the mouth means anything. Pressure on the mouth is potentially uncomfortable. Pressure on the mouth can lead the horse to then go into a mode of self-defense. So I always then say, as a principle, that the inside rein is the horse's friend, and the outside rein is the one which I use, in inverted commas, to discipline the horse, to say to the horse, listen to my body language, listen to my position. And so that language of touch to the horse's mouth should not be a constant pressure. It should be a touch and release and a touch and release, or it's like holding a child's hand. It's just a constant contact from which you can then send messages to the horse. The inside rein, I talk about, that is the horse's friend, and if you think about the construction of the horse's mouth, and the bit is in the mouth, the jawbone, the tongue, and then the corner of the mouth, those are three separate elements, and what I'm often saying to riders is actually take the pressure off the tongue, the tongue is often the meat in the sandwich between the bit and the jaw, so by slightly lifting the contact up into the corner of the mouth, you bring it into a more comfortable position in the horse's mouth. And so if we go to the German scales of training, I call them German scales of training, they are the scales of training. The Germans have emphasized them in a very structured way. Rhythm, relaxation, suppleness, acceptance of the contact. Acceptance of the contact is precisely that. It's not about accepting pressure. Yeah? So what we're looking for is continuity, and from that we can then communicate. Now, I've been talking an awful lot, and Heidi here has been wandering around. So now I'm going to turn my eye towards yourself, and just we're going to be, for various reasons, but which Heidi has explained to me, we're going to be working in the trot, in rising trot. Yep.
I ride with two crops because I don't have an inside leg.
Yep. So we ride with two sticks, I call them dressage. Whips, I always try to avoid the word whips. Heidi just used the word crops, but anyway, they're touching devices. She rides with two because she does not have, due to issues with her middle and so on, the use of her leg. Therefore, the touching device, in her case, is going to be the touch of the dressage whip as opposed to pressure of the leg or touch of the leg. Right? So, now, I was talking before about, and maybe you heard me there, Heidi, about talking about body language. Yeah? So what I'd like you to convey to him is your body language and what's going through in your mind as well. And you're sort of saying, let's go. Come on, let's go. And up, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. So you create through, first of all, your mind, which then translates to your body, to a feeling of dynamism and activity and saying, come on, let's go. Yeah, and as you're working here on a figure of 8 and changing the rein, each time you're going from circle left into circle right, so you your inside rein changes from left side to right side. So as you move across into a circle now, we change the rein again. So here you raise the bit on the left side of the mouth, lift the inside rein, and then you change the rein. You raise the bit on the right side of the mouth, so on the right side of the neck, that's right. So you lift the bit slightly on the inside, And by raising the bit slightly, you will achieve the lateral suppleness at the pole. So if we can keep the inside rein slightly higher, lifting the bit on the inside, you can then still communicate down the outside rein occasionally. So your inside rein lifting is relatively passive. The outside rein can sometimes give a signal that he comes then a little bit more, what I call supple in the pole. Through in the pole is the expression I use. And if we have that suppleness in the pole and then an active step, and every time you rise you can say, let's go, come on, up, 2, 3, 4. Ah, that was good, yeah. Okay, maybe you touched with the whip, but that produced a positive response. Up, 2, 3, 4, that's right. And of course, with the whip, you've got different places you can touch your horse. I try to avoid touching them behind the saddle cloth. Aim for your boot. Aim for, maybe even touch on the shoulder. Keep the communication through your whip localized to where your leg is, and that's right. Up, 2, 3, 4. And working on that pole flexion. I appreciate in here we have all these jumps in the way, but as you come down the side here, you can go a little bit further, maybe even go round those jumps at the far end. As you approach the far end, work on the pole flexion to the right, raise the bit on the right side. Don't turn yet, don't turn yet. Now you can turn, and then come down the next side, just on the inside here, and raise the bit on the right side, and pole flexion right, raise the bit on the right side, and your outside rein can say, don't turn yet, don't turn yet. Pole flexion right, that's right, that's it. And if we get that pole flexion, yeah, it's not really shoulder in, it's shoulder for, we might say, yeah, then you're working on the activity and the engagement of the inside hind. Let's make a change of rein again then. And so as you come across, you of course move across the saddle from the right side to the left side. You raise the bit slightly on the left side and lift the bit slightly, especially if he pricks his ears and looks at that jump. Lift your inside rein a bit more, and at the same time with your outside rein, although you want pole flexion left, you want him looking to the left. Yeah, you're going to get that by playing on the outside rein. Raise the inside, play on the outside. When I say play, I mean take and release, take and release. Now that's right, active. Shoulder four, slightly shoulder four. That's it. Pole flexion left, shoulder four. Take and give on the right rein, shoulder four. And keep your inside leg at the girth. Yeah, so in your use of your leg on the left side, I want to avoid kicking backwards and just keep the lower leg by relaxing at the hip. That's it. That's it. Good. Super. Yeah. Good. Okay. I know one of the things we want to work on eventually is the walk pirouette, and also we're going to work on the simple change, canter to walk, on into canter again. So what we're going to do next is work the canter. So if you position your hips for canter, position your body for canter, and then you step into canter. And then as you're cantering, again, still working on the same system of slightly raise the bit on the inside and take and give on the outside. So avoid pressure on both sides of the mouth, but lifting the inside rein into the soft part of the mouth and taking and giving on the outside. And all the time you have to put yourself back to the inside of the saddle. Let's stay in the middle here for a moment. Stay on a circle here. Sit on the left-hand edge of the saddle. Keep putting yourself back to the left. Every 4 strides, sit to the left and sit to the left. And by every time you bump across the saddle to the left in a delicate and elegant way, you'll feel how she or he softens in the pole a little bit. That's right. And then as you're making the circle a little bit smaller, you can just take and release on the outside rein, staying in canter. Don't pull on the inside rein to make it smaller. Keep the bit up on the inside, take and release on the outside. Sit on the left side of the saddle so that you sit on the inside edge of the saddle, and then that'll allow your left leg to drop down. And try to be a bit softer in your left hand. Take and release on the right. Let the bit slide in the mouth to the outside. That's better. That's better. Yeah. Active. and active, and touch once. That's right, correct, good, good. And now go back out to a bigger circle. And straighten the neck a little bit with the right rein, good. And then on a straight line, again working on the pole flexion to the left, raise the bit on the left side, sit on the left-hand edge of the saddle. Yeah, so broke to trot for a second just because you lost your position. So keep putting yourself back to the left. Correct. Put yourself back to the left. Good. Okay, take a break and we'll change the rein and work on the right canter. So it's always a challenge with every rider to, I say a challenge to stay on the inside of the saddle because centrifugal force tends to spin you to the outside. And so it's not a fault that you get moved to the outside. The fault is only that you don't have a system for putting yourself back and putting yourself back and putting yourself back. So the way you in the canter put yourself back to the inside is within the motion of the canter, let your hips come back across, yeah? And then you can allow the weight, the hip to relax and the leg to drop, yeah? So we'll work the canter right now. And before you set off into canter, we're going to just go into trot and then canter. Trot first, yeah. Within the active trot, that's right, you put yourself back on the inside edge of the saddle and then you take your first canter stride. That's it. Good. And then we're working on that pole flexion to the right by raising the bit on the inside, lift the inside rein, and then take and give on the outside, that he comes a little bit more through in the pole. And then still active, and active. Sitting on the right-hand edge of the saddle, and active. That's right, good, good, good. And then as we're preparing now to come back to canter to walk, you mentioned about canter to walk, yeah, we've got to first of all get the feeling of the hind leg jumping under, and then get the timing right for the transition to walk down the outside rein, okay? Don't use your inside rein for the downward transition. Yeah, have a feeling that your inside arm remains soft when you come back canter to walk. And if that leads in the end to the neck coming straighter, better, yes, good. Now prepare the half pirouette to the right. So within the preparation for the half pirouette, stay on the stay in circle right, go into a little bit shoulder in right. What I want to do is achieve first of all, keep going down there and shoulder in right, raise the bit, just go down there and shoulder in. That's it, raise the bit on the right side, right leg, touch once, maybe touch on the whip, touch of the whip. That's right, till you get the pole flexion right, and then you can start to think about the half pirouette. So the preparation for the half pirouette is by first of all doing shoulder in. And then when you've got the shoulder in, then you can complete the pirouette. Yeah? So now let's work in left canter. So first of all, sit on the left side, outside, take the first canter step. More from your hip than from your leg. That's good. Correct. Good in the pole. Good. And you sitting on the left-hand edge of the saddle. Good. And we talk about pole flexion, but not too much neck bend. Correct. Good. And then round this cross-country jump, we can reduce the size of the circle again. So you sit to the left, you take and release on the right, and keep the left arm softer, keep the left arm softer, take and give on the right. That's right, and keep putting yourself back to the inside of the saddle. That's it. And softer left arm. And when you then want to go canter walk, keep the left arm soft and just use the right arm. That's right. So the signal goes down the outside rein and the inside one is continuing to go with the movement, yeah? And I notice when you start to think about bringing the circle smaller, that the quarters come in first. And what you want to try and aim for is that pole flexion, slightly shoulder in, and then reduce the size of the circle, bringing the forehand round. So before we canter again, we're going to do the same thing in the walk. Pole flexion left, preparing to do a half pirouette to the left. Let's keep walking across here for a moment, and let's go down this imaginary long side, yeah, and a clear shoulder in left feeling. So shoulder in left, raise the bit on the left side, take and release on the right rein, take and release till he comes through in the pole. That's better. Now you're ready for the pirouette. Now you can release the outside rein and pirouette. Half halt and release on the right rein. Keep that pirouette going. You could have made it a bit smaller if you were to then take on your outside rein, so your shoulder in, and then take and release as you ride the pirouette in that rhythm. Yeah? So the preparation is shoulder in. When you're ready to start, then your outside leg, not too far back, at the girth, says to the forehand, come around. Yeah? So first get the acceptance of the pole flexion to the right, take and give on the left. That's it. That's good. That's good. Yeah. Good. Active. Good. Good. And then when you want to go counter walk, it'll be on the outside rein. Right. Good. Then you get a clear, defined canter to walk. Good. And now we're going to do a half pirouette right. So first of all, down this imaginary long side, we prepare shoulder in. He starts to look at the audience, raise the bit slightly. Wait, lift the bit up in the corner of the mouth. There, that's better. Now you can start your pirouette because you've got the acceptance. Take and release on the outside, half halt on the outside, half halt and turn, half halt and turn, half halt and turn. Keep going. I say keep going. What I meant is that you could continue your half pirouette for a few more steps. Yeah? So let's actually come back onto the right rein. Yeah? Come back onto the right rein, and let's then do that exactly as you did before. First get the acceptance of the pole flexion to the right. Play on the outside rein till he softens the neck. Yeah? Raise the bit on the inside, keeping the inside hand passive when you lift it, and the take and give on the outside rein rather than the inside one. There. Now you can start your pirouette and keep it going, and half halt and release, and half halt and release, and half halt and release, and half halt and release. That's it. That's it. Your outside leg not too far back. Half halt release, correct, good. And now walk forward. Good. So as you continued there and carried on working on the pole flexion, then he came round, still active behind, but into a half pirouette, which was more on the spot. Okay? Now we'll pick up the counter again. Sit to the inside, raise the bit on the inside, but soften the inside rein, let him drop the neck a little bit into canter. Okay, so he trotted one step rather than stepping into canter. This next time, a little bit more through your body language. Imagine yourself dancing. You know, step. Yeah, good. There your body language said, I'm cantering. Yeah? That's it. Position first, so you sit to the inside. Body language says, I'm dancing. And then you think about the influence of your seat and leg. That's it. And touch every 4 strides. Active, 2, 3, 4. Active, 2. And then when you finally want to go counter to walk, it's your outside rein that does the signal. Correct. Good. Good. Okay. You mentioned at the beginning, before we started, about the 2 things you wanted to work on, the half pirouette and the walk pirouette, and then also the simple change. There you've got a very clear canter to walk, because you had the relaxation in the pole, the throughness, you had the engaged hind leg, and then at the point where you wanted to go canter to walk, you gave the communication down the outside rein and with your body language. Yeah, and that achieved what we wanted. Okay? Let's just go back to working in canter, and rather than doing the simple changes, what I want to work on is a little bit towards bigger canter and then a bit more collected canter, and then a bit bigger canter towards medium canter and then collected. And you do that again through your body language. You make your position clear, you stay on the left side of the saddle, you keep the soft lifting of the inside rein into the corner of the mouth, and you communicate down the outside rein, be softer on the inside, softer in your fist on the inside, take and give on the outside, yeah, and then allow the stride to be bigger again, and release and push with the seat. and push with the seat. That's right, correct. And then when you want to come back to collection, you sit first on the inside. Yep, be careful there, you keep your position statement very clear. And then you work on the pole flexion. So as you want to collect, don't do it by pressure on the mouth. Do it as if you were dancing yourself. Do it through your body language. Yeah. Yeah. Soften the inside. Soften the inside. Yeah. Good. Now expand the canter again. Expand the canter. Expand the canter. That's correct. Good. And then in coming back to collection, yeah, become stiller with your body. Sit on the inside. Make your position statement clear. Position of your legs is clear. You work on the pole flexion because you got a bit tight in the neck there as you wanted to come back into a more collected canter. So what you have to do there is make sure that he stays through in the pole, relax in the pole, that you don't have pressure on your inside rein. That's right, you have the contact but no pressure, and you take and release on the outside rein. And make your position statement clear. Sit left, step left, correct. Correct every 4 strides you say, and canter, and canter. So if you watch me for a moment, I'd like to feel in my body that I'm stepping and stepping and stepping, and just that you're dancing, that you are the horse. Yeah, it's not a mechanical just pressure on the rein. You just turn your, now I'm riding a big canter, into now I'm bouncing on the spot. There. Sitting on the inside of the saddle, your position is clear. That's right. That's right. And as you start to be stiller with your seat, you still can stay a little bit active with your leg. Active with the leg. And sit stiller with the seat. And active with the leg. And stiller with the seat. Active with the leg. No, that's it. That's it. Don't press, don't pull on the inside rein. Softer inside rein. That's active. Take and give on the outside. A little signal on the outside. Soft on the inside. That's right. That's right. That's right. Good. Correct. Pressure off again there and sit to the inside. Good. Now we can prepare to go canter to walk, and remember the outside rein is the one that gives the signal. Right. Okay. So just before you went canter to walk, it just needed you to follow with your inside hip. Yeah, don't become motionless with your seat. Correct. Yeah? So you mustn't become motionless with your seat. Your seat has got to keep riding the canter. Try that once more. And keep a bit up on the inside. Better. Good. Okay. Let him stay and walk. Let him have a stretch. Clearly, when you're working in this sort of degree of collection, then they have to work quite hard. Eventually he gets a little bit tired, yeah, and then the holding himself is a bit tricky, yeah. But what was good to see is that when you worked on that, I call it throughness in the pole, that acceptance of the lateral flexion, the relaxation in the pole, yeah, then he became more engaged with the hind leg, he became lighter in your inside rein, and it's at moments like that where you're able to then say and canter, walk through your body rather than pressure on the mouth. Okay? I'll just worry about time, so I don't know whether we've exceeded the time allowed. I think we probably have. So I think we probably have to finish on that point there. Yeah, and thank you very much indeed for volunteering to be here. Yeah, good lad. Nice to meet you. Good lad. Hey, nice and warm.